sharing their experience from tech leaders to tech leaders. This is CTO Talks.
Hello and welcome. This is Marcin Bonowski, and I have a pleasure to host today Cecilia Borg, an Agile transformation leader, a coined CTO, and an Agile advisor, coach, and everything. So you can guess that today's topic is going to be something related to Agile. Hello, Cecilia.
Hello, nice to be here. Thank you.
And likewise. So, Cecilia, could you make a brief intro about yourself? So, something about your background, what you do on a daily basis.
Yeah, sure. So I have a passion for tech, and I've had since I was young, playing in Nintendo games and computer games and everything. And so leading me on to my master's degree in computer science. So really being a tech nerd. But then also I've been working with youth and children in the Scout movement and also building communities there and founding my deep values of leadership. So combining these two things, my passion for tech and leadership and believing in the small cross-functional teams, has led me on to a leadership career in tech. So I've been working kind of as a developer in startups and scale-ups, and I've been working as a leader and strategist and CTO for many different companies, both global corporations and smaller startups. So like King and Spotify and Kry being some of the bigger ones, but also like fashion tech scale-up, like Looklet and so on. So a lot of different things over 20 years.
Awesome. So maybe just to blend this, how do you think this kind of your passion for leadership and this path you chose connects with Agile, yeah? Because that's more or less we're going to talk about.
Yeah. So I see how we're right in the middle of a paradigm shift right now in society between industrialism, where we had all the companies optimized for doing the same solution, producing the same solution over and over again, and the manager had all the answers. We know what the solution was, and we produced that for the market. And towards this innovation time that we're entering now, where we don't know the solution and we're inventing new things all the time, and how we create the organizations with where we need to aim for the employees being our biggest assets, and the answer being kind of in the collaboration and the synergy between the colleagues, and kind of how do we take the learnings and change from industrialism to this innovation and thought economy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually really great. So I would also say that it somehow connects to the speed of change that's happening, right? So innovation now accelerated compared to this industrialism you mentioned, like significantly. All right, so I believe that what you're saying is that Agile is more or less an answer to this challenge or this shift of paradigm. However, the Agile has been on the market for quite a time already. Many companies have adopted it extensively, but not probably as much as we wanted. And I would like to ask, in your opinion, what's the current state of Agile implementation? Yeah, because like whoever I work with, they all have Scrum, they all have Safety, but what do you really think is the current state of the implementation?
So I see many people struggling and organizations struggling with applying the Agile methodologies and principles. And I think it's easy to see the ceremonies and to apply and to see that, okay, we have Scrum teams, we have the stand-ups, we have all the ceremonies, but you don't see the effect and people are not happy and you don't get the customer satisfaction or the innovation that you're looking for. So I think that we need to go back to our roots and find the principles of Agile and teach them and mull over how does this apply and what are the right ceremonies for us. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think that Agile is the ceremonies, it's the principles of getting fast feedback loops and understanding what success look like and what the customer is after. And especially looking at some of the traditionally successful businesses like banks, where they trying to apply the new Agile onto the existing organizations and having difficulties in that. They think they have all the ceremonies and everything, but I find a lot of leaders who feel left out and feeling that they're losing their identity, because now leadership is transferred to the teams and to different roles, and they feel like, so what am I now after 25 years? And I mean, I'm chopped liver, who am I and what should I do and what's my role? And I think it's so important to provide them with a mission and how to live in this new world, because they're going from something. They have all these domain expertise and they care about people, but we need to go back to the principles and to find and define the new rules and roles for leadership.
Okay, so how to make this step back and get back to these principles, what they are? I believe most of our listeners and viewers are going to know that. But how to go back to these principles, and what should be the role of the leaders in this setup?
Yeah, so the roles of Agile leaders and any leader is no longer to control and to manage teams and to tell people what to do, because we don't know the solution. So instead, it becomes to support and coach and nudge and challenge teams to come up with new solutions. So it's not about kind of being so humble leader that you're not effective or not telling you are there to challenge the team to come up with new things, but you need to understand that it's the team coming up with the solution, and you need to provide a safe environment for innovation and ideas to flow, and for the team to take risks and to discover failure early and to fix failure early. But you're there to support them in doing this. And we don't know what the solution will look like, and we will fail over and over again. So provide the safety net and to challenge and to make the team be held accountable for their actions, but in a safe way, so that they can comfortably assume the responsibility of this. I think that's somewhere where the leadership lies.
So I think it's also like a shift of the roles. And I would say that one of the challenges I see in this, that it requires a different set of skills, right? How do you, I would say in most of the companies, banks you mentioned, yeah? When you do this kind of transformation, because this is how the process looks like in the most cases, I agree, I have a similar observation in terms of the changing roles and having people adapting to that. But while you're doing that, how to help people transition to the new role?
So I think it takes time, and you have to give people time. Applying Agile to doing an Agile transformation is not a rollout. You can't do a big bang and expect it to work and everyone to have found their new roles kind of within 9 months or a 15-month rollout program. Some people will get it sooner, and also this is also Agile innovation of applying this. So you need to take it in steps, and every quarter see what worked, what didn't, what is the next step to take, and guide them and educate them in these principles. And it's no longer about only being the technical leader having that. As a leader, you also need to understand change management. I think, as you said in the beginning, change is so fast right now. Everything is changing, and we're adopting transformation and paradigm shifts in society as we've never done before. So educate leaders in change management and how to guide people through that. That is a skill where we need to examine different models and to understand, because you will fail at repeatedly of change management, and that's just the reality of it. So how do we teach our leaders to accept failure as one common part of everyday work, and not to feel prestige in that, and to not let politics and personal agendas be a part of this, but generally wanting people to succeed in their everyday life and help people through that process. That is the goal of the leaders. So give them time, give them education, give them support, things like that.
Okay, so maybe I'll connect this my next question to one. So it's all about the change. One, Agile is all about the change, and the other thing is that we mentioned at the very beginning that let's say the Agile implementation or transformation goes in the wrong direction, meaning that it mostly focuses on processes, not people. And on the other hand, if you prepare the organization for a change, how do you make sure that it doesn't go off the rails? Yeah, so there is a goal company has, but how do you make sure that first of all you stick to the original principles of Agile, but on the other hand you also do what should be done rather than doing for the sake of doing and changing things?
Yeah. So Agile is not an end goal, and the organization needs to understand that. They need to have their own goals of being a market leader or staying ahead of competition or survive or something. So they need to have that goal, and then what is keeping us from that goal? Maybe it's efficiency or quality or customer happiness or things like that, and then state those business goals. Those are the end goals. And I think that Agile is part of the answer of reaching that, because I think Agile will give you free up the potential of the human innovation between people in the organization, and will give you the solutions that you didn't know existed. So first of all, the organization need to find and define the business goal and really adhere to them and feel that this is important. And for banks, I think the problem for them is that they have they have too much money to throw. It's not really, they need to really see that Agile, if they want to roll out Agile and if they want to introduce that, they need to understand why and really kind of have the team be held accountable to some business goals. And then if you want to apply Agile and see that, then I think you can follow a few principles, because you need to find your own way of doing this. But for example, I think DORA and the DevOps movement have defined 4 metrics that you can Google to find. For example, and these 4 metrics, they defined it in that way that if you are good at these metrics, then you are twice as likely to fulfill your business goals. They pull the statistics to show this. And these metrics are things like lead time from idea to production. It's deployment frequency. How often do your teams deploy to production? It's quality metric of how often do you fail in production when you issued a change? And when something breaks in production, how long time does it take for you to find it and fix it? And these are, for each, they don't look like much, but they actually can give you a lot of answers to where to start looking and where to fix things in your organization if you find bad metrics here. So one example of this is the lead time. From idea to it reaches production, how long time does that take? And just dissecting and asking this, it will actually help you pull if you have true Agile cross-functional business teams, or if you have a false Agile organization where you really have waterfall innovation in it. Because if the lead time is that first you have one Agile team working with the requirements, sending it to some other Agile team doing the design, and then the implementation, and then the deployment, then you quickly see that this can't be done. The lead time is not measured in hours, it's measured in days because you have all these handovers. So just looking at these metrics can help you on your change transformation journey to see, to make you find what to fix in the organization.
Okay, so referring to your answer, I think what you're talking about is, I would say, some KPIs to measure the implementation of Agile. Yeah?
Yeah.
Understand it correctly.
Yeah.
But how about business goals? Yeah, you mentioned that it's a key for the company to define the business goals.
Yeah.
However, what I've noticed, at least from my experience, that it's even more difficult, especially for scaled Agile implementations or large teams, to get these goals to the very bottom of the whole structure, to the whole team. And I believe this is one of the key factors in order to for an Agile team to be going to in the right direction. Do you see any silver bullets in terms of how to make sure that the whole team knows like the ultimate goal or business goal of the company?
Yeah. I also think that this is key, and that the whole team knows the ultimate goal of the business, and that trickles down. All right. So, when coming in, I'm a contractor, so coming into many different organizations, and I talk to the leadership team and give them the thought experiment of the Monday test, that I call it. So when we imagine that we are in a physical building, the whole company, and so you as a leader or executive can stand outside the company door, greeting everyone coming in to your company on a Monday morning, saying good morning. And then can you ask them, what is the 3 biggest, most important overarching goals for the company right now? So can they, with their own words, explain those 3? What is it? So it could be, yes, we need to become the market leader or come to this competition, or we need to lower our costs because right now we, for some reason. What is the 3 biggest goals, company goals, that everyone can see? And can they explain that? And then if they can, the next question is, how will the work that you're performing today trickle up to one of these goals, or to any of them, or to all of them? So I believe that no one at the company, not even the CEO or the C-suite, can actually affect any of those goals by themselves. I don't believe that anyone can affect the needle, the top 3 needles. Usually it's not the case anyway. Mm-hmm. So so everyone needs to kind of have that 2nd or 3rd or 4th degree feeling that how the work today will trickle up, and and many of them, like if you work in recruitment, you feel that, okay, but I'm not adhering to the overall success of the business. But that actually is, well, in order to get these goals, we need the innovation, we need the talent. So it's very easy to tie it into kind of what talent is doing is crucial for us to reach that goal. And in the same way, you should be able to track down to a team level how the work kind of will. But often in the middle part of the company, that gets scrambled. You cannot longer see that because the C-suite, or at some level, you divide it too early into kind of sub-optimize for these goals, and it's not uncommon, I've seen it many times repeated, that the goals are defeating each other, that you have opposite goals in different, or that they don't see the full picture and the overall end-to-end target. So just starting by looking at that Monday test, can you formulate those 3, what everyone should say, and then use that to kind of trickle down to everyone? How can you explain exactly every person at the company needs to find that way up to those 3 overarching goals.
Okay, so maybe let me get back to another thing you said about creating a safe environment for the team to be able to innovate as well as fail. Yeah, so that's something you mentioned. I mean, failure is unavoidable. I agree to that. But how to make sure that no one is afraid to share their ideas, feedback, to admit to a failure or a mistake they've done? I mean, it sounds like the team I would like to be in. But how do you build such a team, such an environment?
So I think from a team, I think you should aim to release frequently and to do frequent experiments and to have a rationale. Why are we doing this? And then try it out and view everything as an experiment. And then you do it in a way so that you quickly can backtrack because you know what you had and you can revert to that kind of if worse come to see. So for every deploy or every experiment that you do, the team needs to see immediately. They need to answer 2 questions. Did I make anything better? Did we make anything better? And then you actually have to define what was it that we were trying to achieve? What needle did you try to change? What KPI or metric or what does success look like? Everyone needs to understand that, because they need to get that feeling or ding or kind of, when you do the jackpot thing, kind of what is jackpot? What is that ding? And you need to feel that pride and that is what driving you. I want to make it more successful. So that is the first question. Did I make anything better? What does success look like? And the second part is what you should ask yourself and look for is, did I break anything? And what does failure look like? And the production environment and quality, and was people sad when we did this, or did the production cost suddenly go through the roof, or did I break any database connection or anything? The team needs to be able to see that as well, to quickly revert. And then they need to kind of I can fix this myself, we can revert, we can fix this, or I know who to call and to take accountability of trying to fix it. So sometimes it's not in their power to fix the full issue or failure, but at least they should be able to try and then know who to call. And if you map that scenario out, I know what success look like and I know how to fix if anything breaks, then you have given the safety and psychological safety to the team to take accountability, to be held fully accountable in a comfortable way, to kind of, because no one will shout at them. And then you need to make sure that no one will shout at them.
Exactly. That's exactly the point I wanted to mention. Yeah. So I think it's also not about the team, but also like the wider picture. They need to be sure that regardless of what they do, if they have the possibility to fix it and no one's going to shout at them or, it comes down to this kind of blaming culture. Yeah.
Yeah. No, so I think of course you can't, there's no point in blaming. We're all in this together, right? So why should you point a finger towards someone and say try to fix it and assume that no one wants to do it on purpose and that things will happen and that when things happen, we will analyze and make sure that it never happens again. And if it happens again, we will fix it and find it sooner. If you kind of nurture this culture and make sure that leaders don't raise their voices, don't write in capital letters in emails, don't power CC in the CTO to make a point, or that there's no prestige, there's no incentive for managers or leaders to behave in a fearful way and induce fear. They should induce motivation, passion, inspiration, and help, support in teams, and challenge teams to do even better and come up with better solution. So kind of they can challenge people, but that is a different thing than inducing fear in people and teams.
I fully agree. All right. So, Cecilia, as you mentioned, you're a contractor, you advise many companies. So I really expect that you've seen a lot of things, a lot of various, I would say, challenges, as well as failures or badly implemented Agile. Could you briefly say, based on your experience, what are the biggest challenges and pitfalls of doing Agile, basically? So I believe that at the very beginning, when Agile was getting traction, one of the challenges, at least I was aware of, is convincing higher management that it's not only IT, right? That it was also related to business. But in your opinion, nowadays, what are the biggest challenges and pitfalls that companies face when adopting or doing Agile?
So I have two thoughts here. First is to just mention what I mentioned before regarding the false implementation of an Agile organization with being waterfall, where you still have single functional teams doing handovers to each other and having too many dependencies. And I think for some teams, you are like a platform team or internal support, and your end customer is other teams. That can happen, that still happens, and so on. But one of the challenges is still that I see so many companies doing this waterfall innovation and taking too long. So I think that's one major trend. And then everything is a journey. You don't become fully agile throughout, or and there's no need for that either to become fully we can find good enough. But to see that I've been in the industry for more than 20 years, and when I started, we had single functional teams, developers, QA like testers, and some operations and so on. And when I started, we had conflicts between developers and testers. We had these big walls where you toss the ball over and like, okay, now I'm done, now you can test, and then you don't think anymore as a developer. And there were conflicts between developers and testers and QA, and then between their managers as well. There are conflicts all over. So then the first thing was to make sure to put them in the same team and being responsible for the testing in the same team, and not tossing the ball over the wall. And then now I see QA and testing, it's part of the developers. So everyone is sharing the responsibility within the team. Mm-hmm. And then the second thing I saw was product management being in a completely different part of the organization. And then engineers releasing these general platforms, being able to solve everything. And it took months to develop these. And then releasing them, it's like, but there's no customer value in this. And as an engineer, it's like, yes, but it's a perfect platform. And product management going, well, Cecilia, you don't understand the customer value. And it's like, no, but this is a perfect platform. And then, so I think that paradigm shift was to move the business understanding into the teams. And we created the role of POs being very close to the teams, where the whole team understood the business goal. So that was the second one. And the third one was with DevOps to release, because we tossed the ball over to operations to deploy, and then we forgot about the production. So the whole DevOps movement in making the team able to release on their own and to actually be have some production awareness to look at how does our thing work in production. So that was the first so making sure that the team can take full responsibility for end to end. So now the paradigm shift that I'm seeing, that we're still struggling, and I see a lot of conflict in both individual level and leadership level, is between tech and design, or user research, or UX and the user experience. We fully haven't found the format yet of making those cycles go together, because the the experimentation cycles of the team, cross-functional team, is pretty rapid. And the user research that cycles, they take a few weeks. So you need to ask them and kind of to work together very closely in order to get the result on time and to make them be in sync. So that is the struggle that I see happening now that we haven't found yet. How do we include user research and user experience in the Agile cross-functional team?
Mm-hmm. So coming back to the first challenge you mentioned about structuring teams, right? So with the technological products getting bigger and bigger, more complex, and having more feature sets, what is the, I would say, overarching rule to make sure that it doesn't turn into a waterfall, or maybe there is a KPI you know of to make sure that the teams are actually structured correctly, that we avoid this issue?
So I think lead time is the KPI that we should be looking for.
Mm-hmm.
That and dependency towards other teams, to make sure that the cross-functional team has a business end-to-end scope that you release to your customer and that you immediately can get the feedback, or kind of immediate enough, can get the feedback but that you don't have to wait until someone gives you what you should build or someone, that you have the strategy and the plan and decision and the understanding of the business problem within your team. So, and that is difficult in the transition if you have an old industry mentalism and that you have had, the business work on floor 5 and then IT on floor 2, and then they never meet. You send emails or you do presentation or you do handover, or yes, I'm going to teach them with this 2-hour presentation of how the customer works. That won't work. So I think the KPI is to make sure that the team is efficient enough to deliver and has the full business. If you can come as close as possible to that's what you should aim for.
Mm-hmm. All right. Regarding the second challenge, I have a similar observation. I would add on top of that also there is, I would say that the design teams, they very rarely get to the development teams to get their feedback before they produce something. Yeah, so I would say that's another issue. But do you see any trends popping up on how to resolve this issue? So how to blend the design phase into the actual product delivery, continuous delivery?
Yeah, so I think where I've seen successful and fruitful and is when designers work focusedly on one team at a time, 1 or 2 teams, because you need frequent interactions to sit side by side and show this is what I'm thinking, and then for front end and back end developers to say that, okay, that makes sense, or no, we can't do that, or we don't have that endpoints, because when you work as isolated and we are running a very efficient design studio to work towards several different teams and trying to run as efficient as possible, then you get this handover misunderstandings. And I've heard things like, or when I see things like handover meetings in people's agendas or in their calendars, then it's a red flag for me, because then we don't have that daily iteration or hourly iteration and talks, and then conflicts often arise and you come to a less efficient solution, because then front-enders they will do whatever they can in order to do that, but it might not be the most optimal way, and we will add a lot of technical depth and also the conflict, and we don't get the solution that we want, and we often end up with a less efficient innovation process in full because we build the wrong thing and then we need to redo it. So I would say if you have less developers than you have teams, which is often the case, ask them to work with one team at a time. Maybe stay for a quarter in one team, and then you can okay, now I'm going to transfer my focus to this other team, and then you can kind of try to work and do your thing as good as you can. But I need to focus on this new team, and then you can help them a bit. But focus one team at a time for each designer or user researcher.
Okay. And one thing came to my mind when you talked about user research, which, as you said, takes a few weeks. How about like making it user research a part of the delivery process, meaning that you make small experiments on real life scenarios? Yeah, so you make a feature, testing one of your, let's say, UX physics, and then you measure like on real user data.
No, for sure. I think they should definitely be there to help us form great hypotheses and assumptions, because they know what to ask for, or kind of how to make it less biased and so on. So definitely they should be with the team when releasing and taking the right conclusions from A/B testing or what you do. But often the user researcher need to be there from kind of the start of some idea, and to see so that we don't miss the target fully when building something. And I think that's the hard part, because when you do quick experiments and you want to do things quick and run different experiments, you need that answer at the start, and then you needed UX to have started 3 weeks earlier. So then you need them to be part of the strategy journey and to see that, okay, I will start this work straight away, and then you will do different things, and then in a couple of weeks we will have this, and it will be on time. But then that's why you need them to be part of the team from start.
Awesome. So maybe to slowly wrap up, what do you envision the future of Agile and change management? What trends you think are going to follow in the most immediate and maybe further future?
Well, I see there's no turning back. We can't treat people like resources and kind of Taylorism and industrialism. We need to treat people with respect. We need to unlock their potential. That's how they will stay at our companies. And there are so many companies that are successful with this, so that other companies can't afford to have this mentality, to stay on that mentality, because they won't stay in companies that won't treat them with the respect and where they have the full potential of growing and contributing to the business. So this thing about having a clear purpose of the company and organization in the whole society, sustainability, and kind of being part. We can't do things that are not ethically right, because we also live in this global kind of transparent world. So these principles about treating people as people with respect, it's here to stay. And the principles behind Agile is here to stay. And then how to apply them, and what people, kind of these ceremonies and so on, that will change, and everyone will find their own ceremonies and how to apply that. But the Agile philosophy is kind of it's humanism, and how we take care of each other, and how we come to work happy every day and feel that we contribute and take responsibility for ourselves, for our colleagues, for our product, for society. Kind of that will be strong. And now we just need to teach our leaders how to enforce this and how to do this. And I'm so happy to be part of this, because it's so much more fun and meaningful to do it. So it's here to stay.
What you're saying is I've also noticed that it's starting to go beyond IT and technology in general. So I've heard about Edu Agile, so applying Agile in education.
Yeah.
Many interesting things are happening at the moment.
Yeah, and I think organization where the IT structure kind of took on the Agile, they see kind of they are moving so much quicker than the rest of the organization. So it becomes problematic in the interface, because you're running at different phases and different speeds. So kind of catching on with HR, with economy, with everything. So the whole organization needs to change and needs to find this. And so it's slowly coming in. The philosophy is same. It can be applied to any trait and discipline. for sure.
All right, Cecilia, many thanks for joining the show. It was an incredibly interesting conversation. To our listeners and watchers, if you have any questions to Cecilia, feel free to leave a comment and we'll get it to her. Or you can also find Cecilia on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So feel free to reach out. And I hope to speak to you again. Many thanks for joining.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me, Marcel.
Sharing their experience from tech leaders to tech leaders. This is CTO Talks.